It's Tuesday, June 27th, and this is now on HNN. A Honolulu couple arrested in connection with a fatal mass fentanyl overdose appears in court.
This is well worth the investment.
Hawaii is set to receive a big chunk of federal funding to help bring high-speed internet to rural communities.
He wanted to attack Iran. He's in the base.
Former President Trump is vowing to get even, claiming the federal charges against him are part of a political attack. Comes Skylar Henry in Washington with the audio recording cited in the indictment.
We're going to continue to have that check, meaning other players have a role here.
The Supreme Court delivers voting rights advocates a victory today. I'm Natalie Brand with the decision, plus the big opinions we're still waiting for this term.
These stories, plus we'll tell you who has been named the next host of Wheel of Fortune. That's coming up on This Is Now.
Good afternoon. Welcome to This Is Now. Former president and current 2024 presidential candidate Donald Trump is facing federal criminal charges for his alleged mishandling of classified documents.
Yeah, one of the key pieces of evidence revealed in the indictment was the transcript of an audio recording where Trump describes the secret documents. Skylar Henry has more details from the White House.
He wanted to attack Iran and what? He's in the base. This was done by the military and given to me.
A 2-minute recording of Donald Trump could prove to be key evidence in Special Counsel Jack Smith's indictment of the former president over alleged mishandling of classified documents. According to the indictment, the recording from 2021 captured a conversation Trump had at his New Jersey golf club with a book writer, a publisher, and 2 staffers, none of whom possessed a security clearance.
Let's see here.
Yeah.
I just found, isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case, you know. Mm-hmm. Except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. But look at this.
The recording appears to contradict Trump's recent claim he didn't have any documents with him.
I didn't have a document per se. There was nothing to declassify. These were newspaper stories, magazine stories.
Trump has repeatedly insisted he declassified any documents he may have had, but in the recording,
See, as president, I could have declassified. Yeah. No, I can't, but this is classified.
Earlier this month, former President Trump pleaded not guilty to 37 counts stemming from this case. And a spokesperson for his campaign says the recording shows he did nothing wrong.
He's going to say that he never had a document in his hand up in Bedminster, New Jersey, and that he was just waving around some papers willy-nilly.
The Justice Department wants the trial to begin in December. Jared Hill, CBS News, New York.
Happening today, a Honolulu couple is set to appear in federal court for allegedly distributing the drugs involved in a mass fentanyl overdose in Waikiki. 2 people died and 3 others were injured earlier this month in a Waikiki hotel room. Fentanyl was found in the room along with a small pipe and substances that appeared to be crystal meth and black tar heroin. The 3 survivors told investigators they thought they were using cocaine and MDMA. On Friday, authorities arrested Avery Garrard and Kana Dragset following a search of their Symphony Honolulu apartment on Kapiolani Boulevard. Court documents reveal inside the apartment agents recovered 500 grams of fentanyl. Agents also found meth, $100,000 cash, and a computer logged onto online drug marketplaces on the dark web.
I'm glad that they're holding these people accountable. I mean, when you think about it, and with the detail that's in there about them being a sole source provider for a lot of the fentanyl here, you don't know how many more lives you've saved by taking these people off the street.
Investigators say they also intercepted a mailed package addressed to Dragset containing over 8 grams of a white powder which tested positive for fentanyl. Both Dragset and Garrard were arrested for conspiracy to distribute and for possession with intent to distribute resulting in death.
Now an update to a story we broke right here yesterday on This Is Now. Honolulu police have arrested a 38-year-old man following a crash in Paoa Monday morning. According to HPD's arrest logs, Jonathan Hewitt faces auto theft and criminal property damage charges. The incident happened around 9:30 a.m. on Booth Road. Police said Hewitt reversed a stolen truck into a car carrying a woman and 4 children. No injuries were immediately reported. He fled the scene but was arrested near the area about an hour and a half later. The investigation is ongoing. A woman who was run over by a Honolulu city bus is now suing the city and the bus company after learning the driver had a troubled personal driving record. Our Daryl Huff has the story.
It was just before dawn in September 2021 when Delu was on her morning walk wearing light clothing and she tried to cross Liliha Street at this crosswalk. Other cars stopped for her, but the city bus coming up the street just kept on coming. The impact smashed the bus's windshield and dragged Lou under the 28,000-pound vehicle. As firefighters struggled to lift the bus and extract her, a witness gave an officer his statement.
You don't look like you appeared to press the brake. It was more of an accident.
Like a swerve.
You see something in front of you, you
kind of swerve. Okay.
So, I mean, you could have slowed down, but slipped his brakes, but it didn't, I didn't see I don't think you're going to see skid marks.
The once happy and independent woman barely survived and now lives with physical and emotional damage.
She feels more kind of trapped, nowhere to go, nothing to do, just in constant pain.
An immigrant from China, Lou now relies on her husband and sons for support and translation.
She's saying she's either dizzy or her head hurts and she just feels like throwing up.
The police investigation found that driver Abraham Alfred Ario's inattentiveness caused the accident and that Lou was in the crosswalk with the right-of-way. But the family's attorneys also found Ario had a number of prior offenses on his personal driving record. The most recent, a 2018 charge of driving 93 miles an hour in a 55 zone. He accepted a plea agreement to reduce the speed to a less than criminal offense.
It does tell you that there is a complete disregard for safety and also for the traffic law, and that is quite an excessive speed.
Sources said Ario is on leave. Oahu Transit Services said the driver has not driven for the bus since the accident, but would not comment further on the lawsuit. Sources say drivers are required to submit their abstracts, but it's unclear if that affects their job status.
And this is part of the intent of moving forward with our investigation and filing the lawsuit is to further investigate these issues.
Is she angry?
Yeah.
Attorneys for the family say they found several other cases where OTS drivers with poor records caused accidents. That'll be important in court if they try to blame the bus company. Reporting from Liliha, Daryl Huff, Hawaii News Now.
In a closely watched case, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled against giving state lawmakers unlimited power over federal elections. Natalie Brand has more on what the justices had to say and the decisions still ahead.
In a victory for voting rights advocates, the Supreme Court rejected a controversial legal theory that would have given state lawmakers largely free rein over federal elections. Republican lawmakers in North Carolina had pushed for the so-called independent state legislative theory, arguing they could set the rules for elections, including drawing districts, without oversight from the court. But the justices, in a 6-3 decision, disagreed, with Chief Justice John Roberts writing, the Constitution's elections clause does not insulate state legislatures from the ordinary exercise of state judicial review.
We're going to continue to have that check, meaning other players have a role here. Secretaries of state, election administration officials, even state governors, state courts, and then also on top of all of that, the federal courts.
We're still waiting for decisions on some of the biggest cases of the term involving student loan forgiveness and affirmative action.
Hey, folks.
The justices are weighing the fate of President Biden's student loan forgiveness program, which would relieve debt for around 43 million people. Republican attorneys general in 6 states challenged the program, arguing in part that the administration has overstepped its authority. The High Court is also considering the future of affirmative action in cases that could reshape the college admissions process. Before the court are lawsuits against Harvard University and the University of North Carolina, alleging the school's race-conscious admissions policies discriminated against Asian American applicants. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, Washington.
Well, ahead of a busy July 4th holiday, it's already shaping up to be a terrible time for travelers. Tuesday brought more air travel delays and cancellations as airlines deal with a combination of problems. What started as an air traffic controller staffing issue in the New York region has been compounded by severe weather and heat across the country. Tuesday is now the 4th day with delays and cancellations reported. Upwards of 3,000 had already been reported by noon. Issues stretch from the Northeast down to Florida, where storms created visibility issues. With flights not taking off, airports are crowded as some people have been forced to sleep in terminals because nearby hotels are booked.
President Joe Biden is pledging that every household in the nation will have high-speed internet access by the year 2030. Biden announced that $42 billion would be distributed nationwide, and Hawaii could get $149 million to help fill that gap. According to the Associated Press, nearly 4%, or nearly 12,000 homes in the state, are considered underserved by the federal government. Broadband access is a focus for Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke. She says the federal funding requires a 1/3 match from the state.
When we thought that the state of Hawaii would be receiving $100 million, we asked the legislature to put in a match of $33 million, which they did. Now, because they increased the funding, our match would be about $50 million. But, as you know, this is well worth the investment.
She says beefing up infrastructure is essential. For more information, look for this story on our website.
The Board of Water Supply is making repairs to a 12-inch main break on Kamehameha Highway in Hauula. The break was reported around 10 a.m. Monday near Kapaka Beach. Crews temporarily closed a lane on Kamehameha Highway, but it has since reopened. Repair work is ongoing.
Now to a new episode of our series, The Debrief. Digital producer Emily Cristobal sat down with Republican State Representative Gene Ward to discuss some of the issues that he's working on.
The longtime lawmaker is one of the few Republicans in Hawaii State Legislature. And in this episode of The Debrief, he talks about his role as a member of the political minority, as well as issues including helping low-income working families and diversifying the state's economy. Here's a listen into that conversation.
Emily, I'm really embarrassed to say that half of our population is at the margin of poverty. Half of our population. I'm a representative. And we allow this to happen. It's like a guy with 8 kids. He can afford to feed 3. 2, he can give rations. But then the other ones have got to live off of government programs, which leads to my third issue. We've got to diversify our economy to get higher paying jobs and more jobs for these Alice families. There's no reason why half of our population is without an income, with a roof over their head. That, to me, is a responsibility. First, the safety and the sustenance and the wherewithal for people. And we're not doing that.
In speaking of diversifying the economy, Representative Ward said he imagines Hawaii becoming the Hollywood of the Pacific, the sports center or concert venue of the Pacific, the Geneva of the Pacific, and even looking into space tourism. He was also vocal on his work of getting Native Hawaiians off the wait list, sharing his thoughts on how the $600 million infusion for the Department of Hawaiian Homelands should be used. We discuss all this and more on The Debrief, and we'll be live streaming this entire conversation on HNN's digital platforms at 1 p.m. You can also find more information on our website. This is Emily Cristobal for Hawaii News Now.
Well, today is National Pineapple Day, and Dole is partnering with the Blood Bank of Hawaii for a special cause. It's called Pine for a Pint. Oahu residents who donate blood today will receive a freshly picked pineapple while supplies last. Now, this is happening at 3 locations across the island at blood bank centers on Yonge Street, in Waikele, and at Windward Mall.
It's a fruit that people really celebrate. It sort of stands for hospitality and friendliness. And so we just wanted to expand that to our communities. And we thought, what a perfect opportunity to go ahead and share this great fruit on National Pineapple Day with the Blood Bank, and certainly give out pineapples to all of the donors that come to give blood.
This is the first time we've done that. We do lots of promos, but this was a pleasant surprise, and I think it's part of a national campaign as well, so we're honored to be right at the heart of it.
Nearly half of managed honeybee colonies in the U.S. were lost in just the last year. That's according to a respected annual honeybee survey. Now, that's the second highest annual death rate on record. But how are honeybees faring in Hawaii? Casey Lund explains.
Aloha from Waimanalo. We are here with the folks from Bee Rescue 808, private beekeepers. They do bee removal. We're going to talk about that and how important it really is to the overall bee population here in Hawaii. But we're also talking with bee researchers as well. From the UH Honeybee Project, we have Ethel Villalobos as well as Kevin Sander, a grad student. Ethel, we're going to talk to Peter in just a moment. These are his hives, of course. This isn't UH, want to make that clear, but he's been kind enough to invite us up here. We're talking about some of the bigger threats, and when we talk about that 48% loss across the U.S., we tend to do a little bit better here in Hawaii. Can you tell us why that is, but what some of the real threats to bees are, and while doing that, tell us what we're looking at here.
Okay, well, the biggest threat is definitely the varroa mite and the diseases, the viral diseases it carries. And what we're looking at here is bee brood. Basically, baby bees are underneath these little cap cells. And one thing I want to show you is in some of these areas, you have little holes, and that is the nurse bees, these girls that are here, are checking to try to find diseased bees. If there's a mite underneath, it'll smell funny. They'll have good noses. The bees will detect that and will make a little opening. Then another nurse bee will make the decision, keep or kill. And if they decide to kill it, they'll disrupt the life cycle for the mite.
Yeah, and I want to talk to Peter. Peter Morrow is with us, Bee Rescue 808. These are your babies.
Rescue.
Honeybee Rescue, excuse me. Honeybee Rescue 808. These are your babies, right?
Yes, they are.
How long have you been doing this? And I know that there's a business aspect to this, but you really have to love honeybees to want to do this. It's a lot of work.
You just can't hire employees to come out and work your bee yard for you. It's a passion.
Yeah.
And luckily, me and my son are doing this together, and it's great. I've been doing this about 3.5 years, and kind of really got deep into this when it came to the removal side of doing bees to save them.
Yeah, and tell me a little bit about that. And as these researchers have told me, the work that folks like you do to remove bees safely for humans and for the bees is extremely important.
It is. And the bees go through a swarm cycle usually right after winter. Come spring, this starts to warm up. There's a lot more food for the bees, so the bees start to get overpopulated. Queen gets tight, and she's like, I need to move on and get a new place to go. So the swarm will happen, and that's usually when we get most of our calls. Is bees are coming to your house, and they're like, what do we do? I've never had it happen before.
And Peter, I want to ask you, and we're almost out of time, but when we talk about colony loss, it's a huge problem that I think most people are starting to be educated about and aware about. But what did you experience out here this past winter yourself?
A lot of late swarming going into winter. So in November, I'm getting calls for bees that are swarming, which in my mind, I'm not the foremost expert on this, but in my mind, I started thinking a strong hive is hive with lots of numbers, and when a swarm happens, half the hive leaves. So it leaves the hive very vulnerable to disease and mites and all sorts of bad things.
Yeah, well, I know that you're working as well as these folks to make a more bee-friendly world. If you want to learn more, we've got resources. We can connect you with the UH Honeybee Project as well as Honeybee Rescue 808. If you have a hive that you need removed safely and in an environmentally friendly way, we'll get that online at hawaiinewsnow.com. Reporting in Waimanalo, I'm Casey Lund. We'll send things back to you.
And a big congratulations to Hawaii Island native Kalei Lee, who powerlifted her way to the podium representing the United States at the 2023 Special Olympics World Games in Berlin. A veteran athlete, Lee has competed for the past 27 years at local and state Special Olympics tournaments in bocce, bowling, and powerlifting. At the World Games, Lee set personal bests in squat, lifting 50 kilos on her first attempt. She then beat that record immediately after lifting 57.5 kilos on her second attempt, then 60 kilos on her third, which secured the silver medal in squat. A big ho'omaikai congratulations to her and all the athletes there.
Outstanding. All right, let's get live outside on this Aloha Tuesday. You're looking inside Hale Ma'u crater at Kilauea. You can see it's smoldering there. No lava activity anymore. As they said, the eruption is paused. Now, what's in store for your forecast? Let's send it over to our friend Guy Hagi.
Not a lot of rain out there this morning, just some showers around the east end of the state, Maui County, and the Big Island picking up some. Now, we are expecting an increase in those passing showers later today through tomorrow for Kauai and Oahu as well. And we'll take whatever we can get because the rain for the next several days will be of the passing light variety, not going to amount to very much. So we'll take those showers, right, coming in to those windward areas of Kauai and Oahu later today through tomorrow. We still are expecting a fair bit of sunshine, partly cloudy skies forecast for the rest of the forecast period into next week, Monday. And those winds will be breezy today, slowing down just a skosh, downshifting to 10 to 20 through Saturday. And then lighter winds are coming back on Sunday and Monday. And that means Sunday and Monday could be a little bit sticky.
Thank you so much, Guy. Time to check out some news from the feeds. Well, it's another case of tourists behaving badly, and it's gripped the internet.
Yeah, it's terrible. So a video taken at one of the most historic landmarks in the world is sparking outrage. It shows a man carving his fiance's name into Rome's ancient Colosseum. Riley Carlson has the story.
Caught red-handed keying the Colosseum. A pair of tourists is drawing the ire of the internet after apparently carving Ivan plus Haley 23 on the ancient walls. The 2,000-year-old Colosseum is Italy's most popular attraction, and as throngs of tourists pack in for the summer season, they say the behavior is disappointing.
I understand that some of them want to leave their mark, but we believe that things should be preserved as they were.
I really get angry with them.
It helps us learn from the past. I just don't think it's right.
This is the fourth case of vandalism here so far this year. Italy's news agency says the person responsible could face $15,000 in fines and up to 5 years in prison. Italy's culture minister says it's a sign of great incivility and hopes they find the culprit. Riley Carlson, CBS News, London.
Now, a Russian tourist who engraved a big letter K on the wall of the Colosseum in 2014 was fined $25,000 and given a suspended 4-year jail sentence.
So Ryan Seacrest was picked to replace Pat Sajak as a new host for Wheel of Fortune. The game show made the announcement today, and Sajak confirmed earlier this month that the show's 41st season, which begins in September, would be his last. Seacrest will take over in 2024. He said in a statement he is humbled to be taking the helm after Sajak's legendary 4-decade-plus career.
Ooh, well, what
How do you
think,
feel about
Ash?
that, Dylan?
I don't know. I see him and I think American Idol.
Yeah.
I think more of the pop culture kind of shows.
Yeah, nothing
you know?
against him, but he's everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people on Twitter wanted someone new, someone, to step into the
Sure.
ranks. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes. Definitely going to miss Pat, though.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and take a look at some good news now. Barbie fans, you are getting a chance to stay at the life-size Barbie Malibu Dream House for free to mark the release of the live-action Barbie movie. Warner Brothers and Airbnb teamed up for a promotion in which 2 winners will get an overnight stay on July 21st and 22nd. Now, you can bring a friend. This dream house is the same that Airbnb listed in 2019 for only $60 a night in honor of the 60th anniversary of Barbie. The mansion has since had a makeover. Starting July 17th, you can go to airbnb.com/KenDreamHouse for your chance to win. Look at that.
Very
Wow.
bright.
Very much so.
And we'll leave you with this, you guys. Just in time for the 4th of July holiday, Pepsi is unveiling a new product to give you those hot dog at ballpark vibes. So the beverage brand is releasing its first ever condiment, Pepsi Cola Chup. It's basically ketchup with
delicious.
caramel notes and citrusy pops of Pepsi Cola. So it's infused with smoked tomatoes, cinnamon, thyme, oregano, paprika, onions, and of course, ketchup. It's only going to be available at 4 U.S. ballparks, though. So,
What do you think, Ash? Are you reaching for that Pepsi ketchup?
I love ketchup, so sounds good. Yeah.
I don't know. They think of anything these days. Maybe you can enjoy the hot dog while cruising in the Barbie mansion. We'll see about that. Thanks for joining us, everyone.